Welcome back to our Canaries Walk. Some disgruntled Norwich fans this week. When will we ever learn that when we go 1-0 up, we do not need to go defensive? Seamus says going full turtle every time we go 1 goal up isn't working, bro. Pay us a clue. 20 minutes of Norwich chat. Our title is Stop Going Full Turtle. Plus, who won the transfer window? We're asking these guys to look back on how Norwich did. We're looking at the worst ever Norwich City manager this week. We have completed our worst ever Norwich side. There it is. We'll talk you through it at the end of the video. But who should manage the side? Plus, it's Valentine's week, of course. So asking these guys on here how they fell in love with Norwich, and be ready to comment on that in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. This is recorded just after the Derby game, so we're not commenting too much on the midweek game. So jump ahead 5 minutes if you want to avoid our review of that. First of all, Killian, you've been busy this week, haven't you? Checking out.
Welcoming over newer players to the team.
Yeah, you've been checking out all the new players and getting some selfies. How were they? Any interesting personalities?
Yeah, Rory McConville's a lovely fella. Very, very comfortable with all the fans. Like, given that he was just after turning up a wet few hours, it was great to see. He was very, very comfortable, relaxed. You could see he's been around fans when he was at Brighton. So Jacob Wright was a little bit more nervous, I think. But again, it's good to see. I think one thing about all Norwich players is they generally engage well with the fans, and of course Lucien Mahova is already becoming a legend in the club for weeks. So.
Right, let's have a look at some tweets then, shall we, from the game. Matty Stewart says, stop stiffening the attack. There are plenty of goals within this team. Stop with this ultra-cautious crap at 1-0. And again, we got this old tweet. Game management has been awful, and Stacey not being able to defend. Hey, what's new? Matty, do you agree with the tweets here that are saying you've got this turtle-like quality?
I get the frustration, but we did have chances. We did have chances to kill it off. We should have scored a second. The Stacey point is probably a fair one. I like Stacey, but it's a silly thing to do. Seen a few replays. I've not seen a huge amount of contact. It probably is a penalty. I'm probably looking at it through my yellow and green shades, but yeah, it was a frustrating game. Like, let's not beat around the bush that we should have won it. We had enough quality. Derby parked, 10, 11 men in our half for most of the game, and that's how it went, and that's how we knew it would go. So, you've got to have a bit of criticism, I suppose, for us not killing the game off. But I feel like we're better against the teams that are a little bit more expansive than we are the teams that come and park the bus, and that's something that Hoftorp's going to need to figure out, because I feel the better that we get over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, as more teams are going to do that. We saw that under Farker when we played good football and teams parked the bus, and we managed to find a way. So I think that's the next sort of thing for us to look for in this next sort of period of transition, as to how would we be better? That's great English. How can we be better against teams that are a bit more defensive and a bit more solid?
Yeah. We don't want to go into too much, do we, Jacob? But there were lots of these. Jack Stacey, you'll never see the pearly gates. Nodge says, bin Stacey off. I mean, overall, the season, does he merit this criticism?
No, definitely not. I think Stacey's been performing really well over the past few months, even though he's not been given the same opportunity as Fisher and Mahova, so it's been difficult for him to perform at his best level. But I think definitely does not deserve this criticism for one game.
Yeah, okay. Preston this week. I love this from Robin Oliver. I've got one message for you, Preston. Nothing. Because he's back. In fact, both are back, of course. This Tuesday night. Let's talk about Sargent though. We're running out of superlatives for him. What is that? 3 and 4 now for him.
Yeah, I mean,
come back. Oh, God, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I was there, and when he was in that position, I just had no doubts really that he was going to score. Top bin finish. I mean, quick football. He's really sort of just pinnacle of Thorpe's style of play. I mean, there was a bit at the end as well where he ran all the way back to the right back to make a slide tackle on their player, which just shows how much.
Yeah.
yes, shows how much you're dedicated to the plan, and I think him and Borja is going to be really effective against Preston.
It's no coincidence, is it, Killian, that Sargent's return has now heralded your resurgence up this league as a.
Yeah, no, he makes a big difference to the team. And it was interesting even in the second half. I think possibly Sargent didn't have his best game, and I think part of the issue is he was, out too far and he was pulled into the centre a bit more in the second half. I think we did a bit better. So, I think it's important that, Sarge brings the team around him and not just that it's relying on one person. So I do think we've had that in the past with Pookie. So I think he's made a big difference, but I think we need to move on. Some people have said there, just to not stick at 1-0 and keep banging them in.
Matty, I didn't take a picture of it, but for about 20 minutes, well, longer than that, actually, about 30 minutes, you were in the playoffs on Saturday. You were there in 6. Not anymore. Frustrating again, though, that you just every chance you seem to get to squeak into it, you just don't take it.
Do you know what? I think that I was going to say I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not that bothered if I end up being wrong about this. I think this might be a metaphor for our season in general, really, and possibly where we'll end up. We might well finish 7th or 8th. We might just not have that rub of the green, that sort of clinical sort of finishing. Of course, the injuries haven't helped. Every team's had injuries. But I think kind of where we are and like yesterday's game sort of sums up. Hell of a lot to be positive about. But there's just a few little things that still need to click and need to sort of get ironed out in the process of Hoff-Torp sort of transition. So I kind of feel like that's you've probably scratched upon something that's probably rings quite true of our whole season, to be fair, Mark.
Okay. We will finish on a positive though, Jacob, and it's the same old positive we do, but I can't keep ignoring the love for this guy that Norwich fans are bringing. Ben says, positive note, Lucien Mahova has been a breath of fresh air at left back, comfortable and confident on the ball, forward thinking and good runs to support his winger. Even his pass for the goal today, not put a foot wrong, and showing how much of a prospect we have. He is. You agree, Jacob?
Yeah, he's gotten into the first team much quicker than I thought he would have, and it kind of brings back the memories when Max Aarons and Jamal Lewis were in our team, and they're playing really well, obviously, and Mahova is showing the same sort of quality that Jamal Lewis is showing. I'm just waiting for his first goal, and then that will be a true breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I mean the pass for the goal, Oliver. I think Norwich have scored some cracking goals this season. That one against Derby at the weekend is, I think, going to be in the top 10 for the slickness anyway.
Yeah, definitely. It was just it actually deserved us to win the game. I feel like you score a goal like that, you just really want to go and win that game, but obviously couldn't do that. So I mean, it was still nice to sort of see for sort of style of play coming into action, even though the game wasn't particularly our best performance, but definitely glimpses, and he definitely brings a bit more sort of pace to the game.
Okay, right then, let's move on then from the Derby game. 2 games this week, Killian. Preston, North End, and Hull, of course. By the time we meet again, how many points do you expect out of these 2?
I'm going to go with 6. I think they're both going to be tight games, but I do think we can win both of them. I think with Signs coming back on Tuesday, I think that'll give the team a bit of a lift. And then Hull, I think, haven't been great at home this season. So yeah, we haven't been great away, but I think after the Watford away game, I think we've shown ourselves that we can do it. So I would be confident of 6.
Yeah, poor old Preston with Sainz back. Right. Transfer window closed, of course, Matty, last Monday before just after we said goodbye to you. We can't ask you to grade it as usually because you haven't seen obviously enough of the players yet. But overall, Matty, oops, that's the wrong button. I wanted that one. How do you think the club did in terms of bringing in players and positions?
Yeah, I think let's start with the out actually rather than bringing in. We've offloaded what is, I don't know, between 60 and 80k a week, I think, something like that, in those first 3 players who are all overheads. A couple of players that needed a loan in Kennebo and Brad Hills, and Warner's never really shown enough to get in the first team. So brilliant in terms of outgoings. Incoming, Somali was the extension of the loan, or rather the confirmation from the loan to the buy option, which is good. We've needed him. Jurasek was still yet to see, of course. McConville likewise. Jones, who was signed from what looks like a train station platform name, Bristol Parkway. But in terms of Dobbin and Wright, very excited. Dobbin started very well. Looked really good in his first handful of appearances. And Jacob Wright, I'll stop banging about it now. Mark, we signed a whole midfielder, so I've got nothing left to say either.
Absolutely. Although we did get absolutely slammed on our Twitter for saying Norwich need a holding midfielder by fans saying, "What are you talking about?"
Thanks for tagging me in that reply as well. Yeah, but,
that's okay. No worries. If I'm going down, you're coming down with me. Grant Hanley, does he need a testimonial, Jacob?
Yeah, why not? Just give him a testimonial. He was here with us for about 6 years or something. He put in a few good shifts in the Premier League, obviously partnering up really well in the Championship as well. But time was up for him. He didn't look good against Cardiff, if he even came on. Can't remember now. But yeah, give him a testimonial. Why not?
Okay, good. I was being a bit sarcastic, but absolutely go for it. Right then, last couple of weeks we've been putting together the world's worst or the Championship's worst Norwich City side. We need a manager for it now. First of all, let's just check we've got it all in order. So thank you to all our team and yourselves who have been giving us suggestions in the comments as well. I mean, this is an awful side as we look down at Oliver. George Long has got an asterisk there because he also appears in the whole City worst 11 as well. Poor old George. Yeah, first of all, have we got anything wrong? Let us know in the comments in terms of have we missed any players. We've got 3 subs there as well. Oliver, for you, who's the captain of this awful side in terms of who's the worst of the worst?
Captain of this side. I mean, a couple of these players are sorry, excuse me, a bit before my time, but I mean, Andre Duda was pretty shocking, wasn't he? I mean, based off what you guys have been saying, I feel inclined to go for a husband, but if I had to pick one, I'd go Duda because I think he was the most frustrating, really.
Okay. Killian?
I'm going to go Brellier. I think Brellier, I don't think he was up to much.
Okay. Matty?
I'd put 20 quid on him saying Killian saying Brellier. I'm going to go husband or Brellier as well, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. Jacob?
From my memory, I'm going to have to go with Duda. He didn't show anything for us to stay up in the Prem. He needed to be much more clinical, which he did not show. So, and okay. Andre Duda will be.
All right. We need a manager now then. So, who's the worst ever Norwich City manager? Certainly at the Championship era, 20 years or so. Oliver?
I think I have to go for Dean Smith. I think just boring guy. I don't think he ever wanted to be at Norwich really, and I just did not like him one bit.
Okay, personal choice. Fine, Killian.
I'm going to go for Gary Megson. I think he did 2 stints. One's a caretaker when he didn't win any game, and I think he's probably got one of the worst win records of any of our managers.
Okay. Matty.
Toss up between Grant and Roder for me. Peter Grant. It was just awful football. Glenn Roder, the both I think got a similar win percentage. Glenn Roder, I'll never forget being at Barnsley away in 2008, and it was at the time when I was collecting autographs, as I think a lot of young kids probably do. We were chatting to Simon Lappin on the bus after the game, and he'd been left on the bus. He wasn't even allowed on the change rooms. He wasn't allowed sort of him to mix with the first team. He was just brought from Norfolk, left on the bus, and he wanted him out, and he ended up going on to be a pivotal player for us in League One later on after Roder had been sacked. So a toss up, to be honest, flip a coin between Grant and Roder for me. Oh, and also Roder let Huckabee go after the Sheffield Wednesday game in May of that year, and I've still not forgiven him for that. I know he's no longer with us, but it still hurts.
Yeah. I feel bad putting Glenn Roder as the worst manager. Okay, heartless as you are, Jacob.
I'm going to have to go with Dean Smith. The way he left things at Norwich were very toxic, even though we were 5th when he left. But that game against Luton just showed why he needed to go. And then the game before that, I think it was Blackburn Rovers at home. The fans were shouting, "We want Dino out," which just sums up a whole season, basically.
Okay. All right, then. Right. Thank you for that. Let us know in the comments if they got that wrong. Finally, this week, then, we are, of course, heading towards Valentine's Day. So we're asking these guys to briefly share their love for Norwich. How did it first start? What was the first game and so on? So round we go. Quickly, Oliver.
Yeah, about 10, 11 years ago, I went to a pre-season game. I think it was against Brentford. I just remember it wasn't that packed. It was 1-0 win, and I think ever since, just kind of been in love, just kind of following them. I've met what's his face, Russell Martin, got a picture of him. So ever since, just been in love with the club, really.
Brilliant, Killian.
For me, my reason for joining or supporting Norwich was Mick Shannon, and I followed him around all his clubs until he left Norwich, then decided to stick there. So there was no other logic to it. He was young then, didn't know where Norwich was, didn't know how difficult it would be to travel there. But and couldn't afford to travel, so I used to watch them on the television. But yeah, that was Mick Shannon was my reason for supporting Norwich.
Yeah, I mean, as an Irish supporter, you couldn't have chosen a further away club or ground, could you? Really?
I couldn't really, or a further away hero as well.
All right, Matty.
My dad's a Norwich fan. Despite I'm from the northeast, he's from the northeast. We had friends and family down there. Tried to move there before I was even born. To be honest, my first game I think was at. Well, I know when it was where it was. It was Main Road. It was before Man City had even moved from there. My dad forgot my coat that game. I think I was 3 or 4 year old, and he still blames me. He always says the day I forgot my coat. So that was my first ever Norwich game. We got beat away at Main Road. That was the telltale sign of lots of things to come, I think.
Okay. Jacob, you vlog a lot, don't you, of your games?
Yeah,
Did you vlog your first ever game?
It was 2017. My dad happened to get tickets from a mate in work, and it was Birmingham City at home. 2017, we beat them 1-0. I think Cameron Jerome scored the goal, and then from then it was all Norwich. Loved going to games, watched 2 promotions. Unfortunately, one of them was in lockdown, but yeah, loved supporting the club.
Brilliant. No one's ever considered a divorce or come close to a divorce? No one's ever had an Ipswich fan in the family that they've just
steady.
No, all right. Let us know how you fell in with Norwich in the comments below. We'll read some of these out next week. All right, you lot. Good luck against Preston. Good luck against Hull, and we'll catch you in 7 days' time to review all. Next week, we're looking at the worst ever Norwich kit to add to this worst awful team. So if you've got one in your locker,
you have to wear it.
You guys, you have to wear it next week.